turn on the light. The light at the end of the tunnel appeared in the very next step that I took. And I still, Lee, to this day, I can't figure out how I was in complete darkness, and to go from that one decision moment to the next step and have light spilling in, it doesn't happen that way. And so it was almost as though as soon as I came to the realization that I had my own light, the fear vanished and the light at the end of the tunnel appeared. So I want you to now share, you went through it separate to me. We were separated and you did your own experience.
Yeah, we were helping our people.
Yes.
And so I was at the beginning of the line. She was kind of like at the end.
I was at the end.
Right. And so in my particular case, it's very, very similar. You enter, it gets dark, and you start feeling along the sides. Now, in my case, I got disoriented. And so I was feeling along the sides, but one side like went into a hole and came back or something, and I just naturally went that direction and realized I was, in my mind, I thought I was going into an offshoot of the cave. In other words, they said there was none, and I didn't realize I couldn't find my way back. Suddenly, I was now facing raw fear. I wasn't afraid of invisibility. I was afraid. There's nothing like raw fear. I mean, it's just like, why? Where did this come from? Yeah. And why is it here now? I didn't go into the esoterics of, well, I'm going through an exercise. I was just afraid. I went to the same exact place in my mind that you did, Monica. And what I did in that moment is I said, I've got my mobile phone. Isn't that funny? And I realized at that moment that everything was fine. All I would have had to do is reach in my pocket, get the phone, and turn it on, because I can do that in the dark.
Yes.
And there would be light everywhere. And it would not be lost. And at that moment, again, all of the fear dropped away. And I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? Somebody's going to come and get me. They're going to realize I'm missing, you know.
They're going to wonder at the next channel, hey, where's the channeler?
The knowledge of the light in my pocket is what saved me. It wasn't that far then from that moment to, again, the light at the end of the tunnel showing. I realized that, you know, that's when you feel foolish.
Yeah.
I think it's very common for us to have that happen. Now, the moral of this, and some of you are already there, that I realized later, totally, is the light in our pocket is what Kryon talks about as the partnership with God. It's the spirit. It's knowing you're never alone. When I started channeling 31 years ago, the first thing Kryon said in a channel is, you're never alone. And so we have this example. And we wanted to show you in a real world how that worked with both of us as metaphors, so that those of you who perhaps are concerned about this or going through the mist or any of these things or have any kind of a fear, realize the light in your pocket is spirit. It's not going to let you down. You're going into a sacred place. My goodness, a sacred place. What's to fear in that sacred place? And if at any time you want to, that light is in your pocket and you can just reach for it and come right back to your chair. So it's just something we wanted to share.
I love
that. Was an interesting day, wasn't it?
It was, and I love the metaphor you gave, where your light is always in your pocket. And me, as the practical one, says, yes, it was my logic telling me the phone was there, but question: what if it was the other side of the veil whispering to my logic, hey, Monica's logic, tell her that she's got a mobile phone in her pocket. You just never know how spirit guides us.
That's right.
It guides us every single moment.
Were you tempted to reach for it?
I was struggling to reach for it, and I couldn't quite get it, but once I knew that I was going to get it, I just kept moving forward.
We had that in common. I was feeling around to say, how easy is it to get to?
Yeah.
And that's when I realized there's no problem here. I can keep going.
I had the comfort.
Yeah.
The comfort came, and
Yeah.
the fear vanished.
Nicholas talked to the group afterwards, telling us what we really had experienced and what it really truly meant in his cosmology and his teaching. Very similar to what we're giving you here.
And the reason we're sharing it with you is because we are in extraordinary times right now. We have so much fear pushed onto us by the media.
Yep.
And so we have a choice. When we face that raw fear, we have a choice, don't we? Yeah, we have a choice whether we choose to go with the fear, or is there a light in our pocket that we can grab onto
There is.
to navigate through the fear.
What's next?
This is the time for a meditation and channel.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, that's our light in the pocket.
I'm ready.
I'm ready too. So if you are ready as well, I invite you to join me in creating a sacred space where we can receive the messages from Kryon. And because there are many of us here in this moment together, let's focus our attention on the collective consciousness that we sit in here together. You're not here by yourself watching us. We are not here by ourselves watching you. We are here together in a field of coherence, of love and support, of each of our transformational evolutionary journeys. And with that guiding force that we are participating in this together, let us now receive the guidance and wisdom from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Each time we come to this place, in that circle of 12 energy that you have come to experience, each time we get to this channeling place, I'm reminded of the differences of what this is today as opposed to perhaps 10 years ago. And the difference is empowerment. For those of you who have studied my channels from the beginning, or perhaps you've even read that, which are the transcriptions, you realize that all along in these 31 years, there has been a theme. And the theme is this, that changes are afoot. Well within the sphere and the timing of the precession of the equinoxes, well within the 36 years, we started talking about the changes that are afoot. Those changes, we told you, would bring about significant consciousness in the planet that was different, significant. All of this has begun. Some of you are aware of it. Some of you are wondering as you hear this what I'm talking about, because perhaps this is the first channel you've heard. But all these years I have said this: you are dearly loved. You're never alone. Stand by for change. Some years ago, we started talking about a phrase called the new normal. Today, the phrase is being used even in the media. Now they're using it because they're starting to understand and realize things are not going to come back to a place where they were. Let me ask you, if you expose a secret, let's say it's a secret that is something that you you don't want to look at because it's too awful. And you see the secret and others see the secret. Let me ask you, can you go backwards? Can you unknow it? Can you find a place in your brain to delete what you found out? If you graduate into a more aware level, are you able to simply go back to unawareness? And the answer is no, you cannot. This is what is happening to your consciousness, to your planet, to your society, to your bodies, to your awareness and your perception of what might be out there that always has been. And when I mean out there, I mean knowledge that has always been there, always been available, but you either felt that it wasn't for you or you were not allowed to use it. Let me ask you. In your scriptures, when you see the various masters, whatever scriptures you have, you see the various masters and they've done miraculous things. And you read about it. What is your first impression? We told you the last time we channeled last week, the perception, the training is that God is great, God is good. These are the things the masters did because they were part of the God energy. And look at that, isn't that marvelous? Did you pull it to yourself? Did you say, well, of course, I am too, and I can do that? And the answer is, no, you did not. You looked at it, and it was apart from you, was it not? Totally and completely apart from you. Again, this is a perception, it is a training, and you made up your mind either because others told you to or because you then went with the flow, that these were sequestered to the masters of the planet. This is what they did. It isn't what you do. So what's the next logical thing? Well, you say, well, if they can do it and you cannot, then you ought to follow them. And that's what's happened. And that's happened worldwide. And it's not just one master we're talking about. You can see it in so many of those spiritual systems and doctrines. The one person that is followed did miraculous things, was very wise. But very few human beings looked at that and said, you know, it appears that they have discovered a tool. A tool that is made in his image means that I could have it too, because I am also made in his image. This master, this very aware master, maybe I could sit at the feet of that master and they could show me more of those tools so I could do what they did. There isn't much of that. And now there is. And that is what I am telling you. Again, this channel has to do with getting out of a paradigm that says you simply assign all good things to somebody else. And you follow them instead of you, hoping that some of what they have will rub off on you instead of the idea you have it too. And you do. Mastery has always been part of the human experience. If you wanted to look for it, if you wanted to study it, if you wanted to go there. In the healing circle, we started to give you information. We started some weeks ago talking about the innate and cooperating with it. We also told you that there is an energy that happens when you give intent for healing. The energy is almost like little Post-it notes that you put on every single cell that says, look, she's doing it. Look, he's doing it. And then you get a cooperative effect from your body. We talked about that. Let's now talk about an extension of last week's channel. Now, there will be those who say, well, I wasn't here last week. What am I going to do? Well, if you are a member of the Healing Circle, you can go back to the replay. Also, these particular channels are all given for free, as all of them have been, and you can go back and check it out. What I told you back then was how you must continue the process that you start with the Healing Circle of 12. And when I say continue the process, it doesn't mean then to report every Wednesday. You've heard that before, haven't you? You've heard that every time there's a doctrine that says report to the building every Sunday and do this and that, and then you can come home. Be sure and report to the building every Sunday. It would be similar. If I said that, you have to come every Wednesday because here's where it happens. That's not what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is where it happens is within you. That is the temple you go into every single week. That is where we talk about these things succinctly. And we will again, right now. You must continue the process. When I say must, I mean this. It is free will, but if you mean it, and you start some kind of a healing process, and it might be in these series that we're giving called The Healing of 12. It might be by yourself, totally intuitive. But if you start it with pure intent, you don't then walk away and hope it works. What you do is nurture it. You are the steward of your own process. You are the one who started it. You are the one who imagined it. You are the one who told yourselves to accomplish it. Therefore, there has to be consistency all the time. It's almost like a constant reminder to the cellular structure, which is always growing, it's always morphing, it's always rejuvenating, to continue the process and continue it with a consciousness, with a goal. What are you going for? Lack of fear, perhaps, in your life. Consciousness, lack of fear. Now, some people will say, well, wait a minute, lack of fear isn't really cellular. Oh, yes, it is. I want you to know that there is more going on here than the synapse of your brain. There's more going on here even than your Akashic record or the remembrance of certain kinds of things. At the cellular level, yet to be shown to you, is all of the memories you've ever had. If you're afraid, all of your cells are afraid. Kryon, can you prove that? Absolutely. If you're afraid of catching a disease and you catch it, who cooperated? Every cell of your body cooperated. Are you getting the idea that what you think you are? Your thoughts are instructions, period. If you're afraid, all of you is afraid. If you're joyful, your body shakes with laughter. All of you is joyful. Did you know that? So whatever's going on with you right now has to be a whole body experience. And if you're going to go through that beautiful process of healing, which we encourage and tell you about, everyone has to be on board with it. And when I mean everyone, I mean every single organ, every single cell. Does that even, Kryon, does that mean even when I'm trying to get over something? Or what about grief? Let me give you something to think about. Every cell in your body is grieving. You can feel it, can't you? If something has happened to you recently and you are grieving, mom, dad, brother, sister, if you're grieving, you know every single cell. There's no one happy part of your body. This is what I'm talking about. So it must be a whole body experience, the healing from grief or from anger perhaps, or you trying to then change the aging of your body. All of these things will be accomplished. But you've got to be consistent, and you have to say every single day what you're doing. You are so used to this approach where the doctor will say, well, here is the medicine, and you will ask the next question on how long do I take it? That is a paradigm that you are used to for healing, for curative, for feeling better. You take the pill and then you stop, and then things are fine. This one's different. You cross that bridge, you get into a multidimensional state that is unusual. You carry that and work with it every day for the rest of your life. And there'll be some of you who say, that's a lot of work, Kryon. Let me ask you, why are you here? God loves you every day of your life, every minute, every moment. There is such amazing love and caring. God doesn't sleep, but you do. And when you're asleep, there is love every moment, every day. And God never says, this is a lot of work. Do I have to do this all the time? Every moment since the day they're born. That's how much you were watched over and cared for, so that someday you might awaken and cooperate with this and love back the Creator that loves you every moment of every waking hour. Is it worth it? And the answer is yes, because what happens to you is health, the beginning of a settling, a peace, lack of worry, a happier countenance, and the grieving process starts to diminish, and you realize that although it may always be there, you now have a handle on it. That is to say, you can put it where it belongs instead of it occupying every moment of your life. I am talking to somebody here who needed to hear this. That's the channeling for today. And so it is.
Let yourself take a few more moments as we gently come back from the beautiful space that's created by listening to the channel of Kryon to bringing our awareness back into our body, back into the room, giving Lee time to also come back and adjust, because Lee, it's always a little bit of adjustment for you, isn't it, from channel to now having to talk.
I think the biggest adjustment is putting on my watch. Because I've been taking it off every time because I drain batteries. But yes, thank you. Yes, we're back. We've got a great guest today. I'm very excited because we talk and we channel, and we have said over and over how important laughter and joy is.
Absolutely. It's the foundation to long life.
And what we teach. Mm-hmm. So, and you can tell I'm a happy guy.
Yes, you are.
Perhaps sometimes I'm a little too happy.
We're all happy, I would hope.
So I'll let you start.
Yes, and we have our special guest today. Her name is Shannon Kaiser. And Shannon, are you there?
I'm here. Hi.
All right.
Wonderful. So I want to tell our audience all about you, Shannon, because she is the best-selling author of 5 books. And they all feature the psychology of happiness and fulfillment. Now, I want to just quickly run down what those books are. Her first book was called Find Your Happy. I love that. Find Your Happy. So that led her to write her second book, which was also called Find Your Happy. However, that one was focusing on daily mantras because it's so important. Mm-hmm. The words we speak out of our mouth create our thoughts and feelings and then the reality. Then she wrote Adventures for Your Soul, The Self-Love Experiment, and the latest book was called Joy Seeker.
As an international life coach, speaker, and self-love and spiritual teacher, I love it. A self-love teacher.
I know.
Oh, this is so good. She helps people awaken and align to their true self so they can live the life they were made for.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mind Body Green has named her as one of the top 100 women to watch in wellness. I love that. Now, she's also been listed as your go-to happiness booster by Health Magazine. And in addition, she was one of the freshest voices in mental health and wellness as listed by the Chicken Soup for the Women's Soul.
Someone who was diagnosed with clinical depression, believe it or not, and extreme anxiety over a decade ago, Shannon cured herself by going on a spiritual journey and developing her faith and intuition. This led to the development and teaching of her signature process in the form of life truths as spiritual lessons.
Now, her conscious creative media company, it's called Play with the World.
I love that.
And it includes tools to help people awaken to their true self and to step into their personal power. So